Welcome to One Evil Summer by R.L. Stine. We are reading chapter 23. I'm going to start off with a joke. Where do pencils come from? Pennsylvania. One more. Did you know Stephen King has a son named Joe King? I'm not joking. All right, enough of that. Let's get started. Into the inky water, the electrical pain still shooting through her body. The cold shock of the water bringing its own agony. Drowning. I'm drowning, she realized. And saw the faces of her brother and sister, their pretty faces, their wide, innocent eyes. No! And decided she couldn't drown. Up now! Ignoring the pain, she forced herself up. To the surface, a gasp of air. Another. Ow! New pain as she wrapped her head on something hard. Grabbed hold of the side and hoisted herself up into the skiff. As Amanda shook the water from her eyes, Chrissy reacted fast. She grabbed Mary, who was tied as well as gagged. Mary cried and squirmed frantically. Her entire body quivered in terror. Chrissy held Mary tightly. Amanda could see the nails of one of Chrissy's hands digging into Mary's arm. Chrissy's free hand came up with a knife, the long skinning knife Amanda had put in Chrissy's drawer. With a flash of silver, Chrissy cut the air with the knife, then held it to Mary's throat. This is for my father, Chrissy screamed. Oh my God. Chapter 24. Chrissy flies a kite. Desperate, Amanda hurled herself across the skiff. She tackled Chrissy around the waist, burying her head hard into Chrissy's midsection. The skiff pitched dangerously from side to side. Chrissy stumbled back, gasping for breath. Mary rolled away from her. The knife clattered to the floor of the boat. Amanda kicked it to the back. Then she grabbed hold of Chrissy's hair and yanked her head back hard. Chrissy shot her hand up, hitting Amanda squarely under the chin with the heel of her hand. The blow sent Amanda stumbling backward on top of Kyle. Before Amanda could struggle to her feet, Chrissy rose above her. She narrowed her eyes and glared furiously at Amanda. Once again, Amanda felt a cold wind, an overpowering force. She flailed her arms. She tried to kick, but she was helpless against the frozen hurricane. It lifted her up out of the skiff, into the frigid, swirling air. Like a kite, she thought, helpless as a kite in a windstorm. The higher they go, the harder they fall, Chrissy called up to her, her eyes blazing as they held Amanda in their evil grip. And as Chrissy's laughter rang out over the roar of the wind, Amanda came slamming down, sinking down into the throbbing pain, down into the boat, where she spun around and made a desperate grab for Chrissy's ankle. Let go, Chrissy shrieked, pulling away. Somehow, Amanda held on. I guess you want more, Chrissy threatened. All right, you asked for it. Still clutching Chrissy's ankle, Amanda braced for more. Amanda raised her eyes and saw Chrissy, her mouth open wide, flying backward through the air. Oh my goodness, what is going to happen? Alright, just a quick note. I am the YA horror author of Vampire Juice. If you like horror mystery adventures, vampires, teen romance that is reminiscent of Fear Street, Goosebumps, or Are You Afraid of the Dark, you may like Vampire Juice. My link is in the bio. Some people say it's horror, some people say it's urban fantasy. I say it's horror. Amanda gaped at Chris as Chrissy spun higher into the air. Chrissy waved her arms helplessly. Then her arms shot straight up and plummeted downward. Her head hit the bow of the boat with a sickening crack. Pushing her drenched hair from her eyes, Amanda dragged herself to her knees. She stared hard at Chrissy, expecting her to get up. But Chrissy lay sprawled on her back, her head tilted at an odd angle, her eyes shut. It took Amanda another moment to figure out what had happened. When Chrissy's ankle had jerked out of Amanda's hand, the boat had crashed into a boulder poking up out of the water. The crash had sent Chrissy flying. Ooh. Behind Amanda, the motor sent up a cloud of dark smoke. Then it coughed and conked out. Silence. Amanda could hear her own pounding heart over the steady, rhythmic wash of the waves. Struggling to catch her breath, she crawled over her brother and sister, who were sitting near the stern. Grabbing the knife that Chrissy had threatened Mary with, Amanda cut their ropes in quick, frantic motions. Mary burst into loud sobs and reached out with both hands for Amanda. Kyle sat up, dazed, his eyes darting wildly. Amanda wrapped Mary in a hug. "Kyle, are you okay?" she asked. He gazed back at her blankly and didn't answer. "Where was Chrissy taking you?" Amanda asked Kyle. He stared back at her, confusion on his face. "An island," he said finally. She was bringing them to Dave's Island, Amanda told herself. She was going to kill us on the island, where we wouldn't be found. Feeling a cold shiver run down her back, she tugged Chrissy by the feet, pulling her closer. Then she hurriedly began tying up her arms and legs, knotting and double knotting the ropes. That doesn't work. When you wind it, you also need to go in between. That's what makes it tight. I should push her over the side, Amanda thought, bitterly. I should push her over and watch her drown, but I can't. I'm not a murderer. We'll take her back to the house and call the police, she told Kyle. She gazed back at her blankly. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Mary clung to Amanda's arm, sobbing loudly, afraid to let go. "We've got to push the boat off the rock," Amanda said, crawling to the bow. She climbed out onto the wet, slippery boulder and pushed. The skiff didn't budge. She lowered her shoulder against it and pushed again. With a creak and a groan, the boat floated free. Amanda hopped back in and made her way to the motor. A hard tug of the rope started it right up. She hugged Mary with one hand and tried to turn the skiff around with the other. She headed them toward shore when Kyle's voice rose over the motor's roar. "Water!" Kyle cried in a tight, shrill voice. "Water!" "Where do you think the water is?" Amanda turned to see water flowing into the boat from a hole poked in the bow. "Quick, Kyle! That bucket!" she cried, pointing. "Grab it! Bail out the water! Hurry!" He stared back at her blankly. "Kyle, are you okay?" Amanda demanded, feeling dread knot in her stomach. "Kyle, get the bucket, please." He shook his head as if he didn't understand. Water splashed into the boat. Amanda saw that it was already 2 inches deep. She turned to see the bear. He took a step toward the bucket and then stopped, still shaking his head. Water spilled into the boat faster. Amanda could feel the boat drop in the water. We're sinking. We're thinking, Mary lisped, tears running down her red cheeks. Amanda held her against her chest, trying to comfort her. She made her way over to the bucket, but to her horror, we're all going to drown. Oh, oh no. What is going to happen? Chrissy wins. Frantically, Amanda hoisted the bucket and started to shovel out the water, but it was too late. The boat sank deeper. The motor died. We're going under, she realized, and then a desperate thought burst into her head. Maybe I can jump out, swim alongside, and pull the boat to shore. She didn't have time to think about it. She set Mary down and then took a deep breath and plunged over the side. To Amanda's shock, her body scraped the sandy bottom. Hey, she cried out as she lowered her feet. Hey, it's shallow. Her heart pounded. She felt like cheering. Kyle, you can walk to shore. It's shallow here. He stared at her, narrowing his eyes in confusion. Poor Kyle, Amanda thought. He's in shock, I guess. She reached over to the side of the boat and grabbed his hands and helped him into the water. It came up to his shoulders, but he was able to walk. Mary jumped into Amanda. She stared at Chrissy, still sprawled on her back, half floating in the invading water, breathing noisily through her open mouth. Can I leave her here to drown? Amanda asked herself. The answer was no. Kyle, I need you to hold on to your sister, Amanda instructed him. As soon as the water was waist deep, she handed Mary to Kyle. Then Amanda turned back to the sinking skiff and grabbed Chrissy by the hair. The boat made a loud gurgling sound as it plunged underwater. Chrissy floated free. Amanda wrapped her arm around Chrissy's waist and dragged her to shore. The house was empty and silent. Exhausted and soaked, Amanda and Kyle had dragged Chrissy all the way to the house. Then Amanda pulled her into the living room and dropped her onto the carpet. Chrissy hadn't stirred or shown any signs of waking up. A large wound on the back of her head was still wet with dark blood. I'm going to call the police, Amanda managed to choke out. Hunched over, gasping, she hurried into the kitchen. Her chest was heaving. The police number was taped to the wall next to the phone. Yeah, that's a hard one. 911. She grabbed up the phone and receiver and had started to punch in the number when Kyle's terrified scream interrupted. She's awake! She's awake! Oh, Amanda let out a low groan. The phone receiver fell out of her hand. She spun around her, were popping off one by one. Kyle and Mary had their backs pressed against the glass door, their eyes wide with horror. Out! Get out! Amanda screamed at Kyle. Obediently, Kyle grabbed Mary's hand. He pushed open the door and they raced away. Chrissy, it's too late, Amanda said, thinking quickly. I've already called the police. They'll be here any second. Chrissy climbed to her feet. It's never too late, she replied calmly. She pushed back her wet hair. Her hand jumped when she touched the open wound of the back of her head. Ow! Chrissy, listen, Amanda started, taking a step back. Thanks for the nap, Chrissy said casually. It sort of recharged my batteries, if you know what I mean. An unpleasant smile formed on her face. Chrissy? I'm sorry, Amanda, Chrissy continued, the expression in her eyes growing cold. But looks like I win. What does that mean? What does that mean? We have one more chapter and then I have to stop. And with teen romance and vampires. That is reminiscent of Fear Street, Goosebumps, and Are You Afraid of the Dark? Then check out Vampire Juice. My link is in the bio. Amanda felt her knees buckle. Chrissy took a step closer, her eyes glowing as they locked onto Amanda. I've got to get out, Amanda realized. I've got to get away from her. You're not moving, Chrissy said softly, as if reading her thoughts. She swept her hand in front of her, and a large ceramic vase flew across the room. Amanda let out a startled shriek as the vase hit the wall above her head and shattered into 1,000 pieces. She ducked low and made a run for the door, but Chrissy moved quickly to block her path. Another sweep of her arm made the chairs lift off the floor. Ashtrays, books, candlesticks all began whirling crazily around the room as if caught up in an invisible cyclone. Ooh, a lot like Carrie, isn't it here? The pictures flew off the walls and smashed against the floor. Glass shattered, wood splintered. The whole room spun and tilted. Amanda covered her head. The objects whirled faster and faster around her. She edged toward the window. No way. Chrissy's furious voice rose over the clatter and crashing. Amanda opened her eyes in time to see Chrissy point to the window. With a loud whoosh, a line of flame ran up the side of the curtains. "Oh!" Amanda cried out as she leaped back from the orange flames. Whoop, whoop, whoop. The smoke alarm shrieked into action. Books and flower vases hurled themselves around the room. The flames spread quickly onto the walls, onto the couch, onto the carpet. "Chrissy, we've got to get out, both of us," Amanda shouted, choking on the black smoke that swept the room. "You're not getting away," Chrissy replied. "But the fire!" Through the billowing smoke, Amanda saw Chrissy move quickly toward her, taking long, rapid strides. Flames shot up in the center of the room. The wallpaper peeled under the scorched heat. Chrissy moved closer, her eyes locked on Amanda's. "You're not getting away, Amanda," she repeated calmly. Her arms outstretched, Chrissy started to dive toward Amanda. She didn't see the calico kitten dart under her feet. With a startled cry, Chrissy stumbled over the kitten and fell face forward into the flames. This is my chance, Amanda realized. Choking on the thick, sour smoke, she bent to grab up the kitten. Then she hurled through the spinning books and vases, through the tossing yellow flames, through the black, billowing smoke, out the door. Still choking and gasping, she ran toward the shed where Mary and Kyle waited, huddled together against the wall. A few feet from the shed, Amanda turned back to the house and saw a huge fireball rolled out the door. "Oh!" she uttered a hoarse cry as she saw arms inside the fireball and legs, and realized the fireball was Chrissy. Chrissy in flames, Chrissy raising her fiery arms to the sky. Then sinking to the deck, the flames spreading across the deck, back onto the house. All flames now, all burned, all finished. The whole evil summer, so bright and so dark. All right. Thanks for watching, and we will continue our journey on One Evil Summer on Monday at 11 o'clock. Thanks for watching.